Okay, if anyone has a question or a comment about anything, any studies that you've heard on e-Bible or anything at all, you're welcome to come up. And if anyone does come up, please come down that lane. The mic's set up over here. Okay, any questions?
Good afternoon, Chris. I'm going to present a statement and then something I believe I'm seeing. I kind of mentioned it, but I don't believe I explained it the best. And then some of the similarities that I see, and not to get too complicated. So I'll try to be as direct as possible. Do you believe it's possible, being at the similarities in the Bible? The first tribulation was in two parts. Now we have an understanding of tribulations, plural. The end of the church age began 1988, but as we're learning from the Bible, by the grace of God through your teaching, that it officially began 1994. So I'm wondering, could it possibly be that October 15th, 2015 was the official, even though the judgment on the world began May 21st, 2011, could it be that officially it began October 15th, 2015? The similarities that I see with that is that, again, the patterns repeat themselves. The first tribulation was in two parts. So is it possible, and the same cup that was given to the church is given to the world? The two parts were divided by 6 years, 17 years. If 2015, with the likelihood of 2033, it will be 4 years, 18 years. Kind of similar. The nature of the dividing point was judgment on the church and then emphasis on the believers. 1994 was the dividing point of the first tribulation. The emphasis was judgment on the church, and then it was the beginning of the latter rain, the outpouring of the Holy Spirit. And that was also like a real ramping up. We saw an explosion of the gospel going out, God seeking his elect. I believe I'm seeing a dividing point also at 2015, the same thing, that it was judgment on the world. And again, could it be that it was the official beginning of the judgment on the world, although it began 2011, because now the emphasis was judgment on the world and then the believers, but not unto salvation. Could it be that 2015 was also the official beginning of the feeding of the sheep? What we physically saw with that was, it was the first, leading up to 2015, was the first real big outreach since May 21st. Of the gospel going out, because the message just wasn't 2015. It was also giving confirmation what happened 2011, also with the possibility of the Lord's return. The other thing we saw is also 2011 was a Jubilee year. 1994 was a Jubilee year. 2015 was not a Jubilee year. So that would also make sense. The other thing is that what we saw, it was a transition, because the main message of the ministry behind 2015 that you saw on all the billboards, tracks, and everything was family radio. A lot of people never heard of e-Bible, and what we saw is that a lot of people, for the first time, one was introduced, given information what happened May 21st. That was like the first, because that was the first big outreach 2 years prior to that.
I just don't see it right now.
Okay.
I just don't see it, because the two-part Great Tribulation was necessary. There had to be a famine, as we look at the first fruits and like Jesus's ministry, time of famine. Then the early rain and the bringing in of the first fruits. Then, when that ended with the end of the church age, another famine. It's the pattern of famine followed by season of rain and fruit. But when we got to May 21, 2011, it's a judgment day, it's a tribulation, it's a famine, and it'll remain a famine because there's no more times and seasons. So it was necessary to bring famine after the end of the church age, to follow that pattern, and that's why 1994 was the official end, because it wasn't until the second outpouring of the latter rain, or the second outpouring of the Holy Spirit, which was the latter rain, that it became known that God was no longer using the churches. And that's the difference between this period of judgment, which appears to be a prolonged tribulation for 23 inclusive 22 actual years, possibly, is where the evidence is pointing to. Yet there's no need to break it up from one season of famine to another season of rain. It's just all the same character. And but again, I'm glad you're thinking about it and considering it. We'll just have to keep examining things, and maybe we'll have some understanding at some point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.